Welcome back to Maya Rockstars, where you become the rock star, and we are showing you how to create more complicated shapes out of very simple primitives. So far I took a sphere and I mashed it up into sort of this crazy asteroid shape, and then I also took a NURB sphere here and I made it into a UFO type shape. So you can really play around with that. You can go ahead and add spans in or manipulate these objects as much as you want till they look more like what you want them to do. Later on, I'll get into really creating objects from scratch rather than creating them from primitives. But I wanted to go over these sections here to show you how what the anatomy of like a NURB shape is, or a NURB, any of these primitives. We went over history already. So far we've gone over how to manipulate the span. So far I'm doing everything just with a sphere, and I'll go ahead and create another sphere. And so in the first object we did some point manipulation, right? And then the second one we manipulated the hulls. So remember, we go back to our component mode and then we can see the hulls. Now if I go to this object here, you can see I'm probably going to want to manipulate some of the history on this so that I can get more information. So I'll have to go back to object mode here, and I'll go to make NURB sphere, and then I'll just change this. So the sections, let's just do 12, and then the spans isn't going to matter really for this one so much, but I'll just increase them a little bit to make it look more like I have squares on the surface, which is always good. And let's go ahead, and so we'll go ahead and do our hull. So the way I pull up this menu here is that I right click and I go to hull. You could also go up here and do it. Usually you want to be in component mode before you do that. And so for what I'm about to do, remember, you can select a hull by simply clicking between 2 points, and that'll select that entire row. It's basically a row of control vertexes. But let's take a look at how we can do this. So it's not always best to use the perspective view. Most artists prefer to do that. If you have more of an engineering mindset, you might be looking at using the other views, but at some point everybody's going to use both. So even if you're kind of more thinking artistically, to do certain types of selections and things like that, you're going to want to use one of the other views. So here I'm just going to use the top-down view so that it's easier for me to make my selection. I don't have to keep tumbling around and doing all these crazy things to make my selection. So basically, the shift click is how you can select more of these. So if I go shift and then I click another point, and then shift and click another row of points, or hull rather, I can shift click all the way around here until I have every other one. Now, see there, I selected 2 in a row. I don't want to do that for this particular exercise I'm doing right now, so I'm going to deselect that. And I'm going to go ahead and here. So here I have every other one selected. And it looks like, well, this one was not quite done right. Let's see. Okay. So I can confirm that. So I'll go back to my 3D view here to do this scaling. And so, I mean, you could do it in the other view. I just think it looks a lot cooler here. So it looks like I didn't select something. Nope, I did it right. Okay, so here I made like this starfruit shape by just scaling. I scaled all the points in. Now you might not want to scale on the Y because it's going to kind of create this to be misshapen. So I'm scaling that back up here. But I wanted the X and Z to be sort of uniformly scaled. So I can kind of just scale those in and maybe scale it up. And there you go. So there's a starfruit shape.